if I had adopted that attitude, I'd have been more successful. I know what it's like to drive that horse back in the horse box. Could I have found a much better horse at a much better price? I think it's important for the industry that we don't think about, well, I'll sell it for as much as I can get. I did not expect that. That was one of the most enjoyable moments for me. The benefit of having one number is you can then chart it against price. How much performance am I paying for how much price?
We very nearly had a business that was all about horse sales. And over the years, different elements have become part of the EquiRatings suite of services. And horse sales has always been pushed a little bit. It's always been something that we felt we would get to. It's always been something that has never left almost the annual review and yet didn't move for 5, 6, 7 years. 2022, 23, that changed. And this year already, we've worked with a number of clients who are trying to think about their process of purchasing a horse differently. Why do we want to be in this area, Sam?
Yeah, it's kind of it's the Moneyball concept, isn't it? You know, you watch Brad Pitt, there's so many good lines in that. I think to summarize it in one line, I think how people feel when they buy a horse, you are trying to obviously maximize chance of success. You know, will this potential talent turn into the actual performance that I need? But actually minimize chance of regret. You know, we're dealing with uncertainty. And you know, we see that in all sports and you know, look, we see it in finance, trying to predict anything and wherever there's uncertainty. And that's where analysis really helps you. I think to bring it into a little bit more the granular, you know, I have a goal. What do I need in order to achieve that goal? How many horses out there are looking like high potential candidates to achieve what I want to achieve? And what does the market look like for those horses? So it's actually then it all comes down. I think the why is maximizing chance of success and how much I pay for that chance of success and minimizing the chance of it going wrong. But on a functional level, it comes back to, yeah, what's out there, what does the market look like, and helping people to make an informed decision. So an informed, evidence-based decision, that's really the core of how we do this.
Okay, there's a good bit in this to unpack. Let's go in stages. Maximize your chance of success, minimize your chance of regret. Let's just stay on the first part of that, maximize your chance of success. What does that mean I'm thinking here, success, depending on what, you know, where you are in your career, depending on what age you are, multiple factors, that is a different thing, what success looks like. So let's take a journey of someone trying to you decide, I want to buy a horse that wins me a Junior Europeans. I want to buy a 7-year-old that might go to badminton one day. I want to buy a good novice horse. What would you do? What do you mean maximize your chance of success? Like, what does that look like to begin with?
You've touched on the kind of 3 big areas, I would say. One is a horse that's ready to perform at the top level right now. But even within that, what it takes to win Olympic Games. Tokyo was the first ever major competition when we look at phase influence where show jumping was the most influential phase. Okay, so we've got 2 rounds of show jumping.
Because you've got 2 rounds.
Because you've got 2 rounds. Dressage is actually normally the most influential phase at a championship. But again, people might not realize or know that. And then if you want to be world number 1 and you need to win 5 stars, Burley, badminton, cross country is the most influential phase. So even the recipe for success is different at the top level.
Between an Olympics and
an Olympics, a World Championships, let's say, and then within the 5 stars, there's a lot of variance. So Le Moulin versus badminton Burley, and people have different preferences. Most people say I'll win any of them. I mean, I'd be happy to win any of them. But you know, some people have very much, and we have a general feeling for, yeah, it's a badminton Burley horse, that's a championship horse. But again, just quantify that and validate that. And then I think at the lower, and how much, like every phase matters. No one wants to buy a horse that can't move or can't gallop or can't jump, We want a horse that can do all of those things, but prioritizing that recipe. We know every phase matters. How much does every phase matter? Being aware of that. Down the levels, junior horse winning junior medals, you're going to have a lot of priorities. Like, I want this to be a safe horse that my child can get on, and my safety is maybe my priority, but then success also. Like, we're buying it 2 goals in mind. So you're looking for reliability, and you're looking for
reliability. What we're talking about here is performance metrics. So when you say reliability, you mean reliability of a clear cross-country round?
Yeah, I think I think to be successful, it's dressage. The dressage is 50% of the influence. So there's 3 phases, but at those junior championships, 50% of the influence, and it varies around that. So you'll have some championships like in 2023 where the dressage is even higher than 50%. So you need a strong first phase to be successful. But I know that most people also look for reliability in that cross-country phase too, because they don't want a young child to be, overhorsed or that's the risk phase, isn't it? So they're looking for that. So that recipe of metrics is what you're looking for. Firstly, that's the first analysis. So, and how many horses fit that. And you talked about why it got pushed a little bit. So I talk about, progress, not perfection, all the time on podcasts and in my own training and stuff like that. But I know I am, particularly with the numbers, you want perfection, you want so much validation. And it takes a long time to build. You need enough information to build good metrics. Then you need to be able to track the horses and see them evolve over their career. So it's only now that we can say that even potential horses, so horses that when they were 7, horses like Fisher Chipmunk, who's now the record-breaking 5-star winner, he's in the top 1% of 7-year-olds ever to come through our system on our 7-year-old suitability score.
At 7?
At 7, top 1%. Same with Fisher Racana, 3-time 5-star winner. Same with Quimbo, Andrew Nicholson's 5-star winner. Interesting ones in there. Like, I think very interesting is Tom Jackson's Capel's Hollow Drift was in the top 1% of 7-year-olds. I say that's interesting because Tom Jackson 2nd at Burley in 2022, 5th at Badminton 2023, goes on to the European. We're all talking about him now. We're talking about him as a big contender for Badminton 2024. This is 6 years ago that this, I would say, maybe not within GB, but on a global scale, relatively unknown younger rider with this horse, top 1% of 7-year-olds. In the top 2%, you've got Toledo de Courcy, you've got Lordship's Graffalo, one of the best horses we've ever seen. And he's another interesting horse because Lordship's Graffalo was kind of known for being beaten by Banzai de Loire, kept kind of finishing runner-up in big classes, 2nd at Badminton by quite a margin to London 52. Just missed the medal at the World Championship. Was this horse going to be good enough? Has now obviously evolved into a Badminton champion and European champion, but in the 99th percentile of 7-year-olds. So we knew that actually we can add a huge amount of value in terms of predictive performance. But go back to the first thing. Like, that's my pursuit of perfection in terms of being able to say to people, we have very good predictors of success. That's what I always wanted to be able to do. To be honest, if I was talking to me 10 years ago, I'd say, Sam, start doing it now anyway, because no one can put the top 5,000 horses in the world that are competing at the moment. No one can put them in any order. No one knows that, we can't access who's the best at dressage, who's the most reliable, who are the best jumpers. So people still need that information to make an informed decision. So I would say we can still help people on multiple layers. It's not just, there's many ways I think you can help in this space.
I'm going to come back to the stages of this, but just while you're on that one point of helping people, and I don't want to dwell on it for too long, because ultimately a lot of what we do somehow straddles in between the commerciality of it. Like, if it doesn't make any financial sense, we won't do it. But I don't think we've ever been driven purely by making money on a concept. There was a big driver behind, horse sales, advisory, consultancy, which was about helping the industry. There was a big element of seeing how lost certain people were with the process, just how to approach it. How much do you think about that kind of stuff when you're designing a product, or when you're trying to, when you're trying to think about how this is positioned?
I have I think a small level as a buyer, because I've never been brave enough to write a big check for a horse, but I know what it's like to drive that horse back in the horse box, and on some level there's excitement, but there's a lot of worry as well, going could I have found a much better horse at a much better price than this? And I hope I haven't. And like, that's why I certainly spend a long time in that buying process to try and avoid that. But I've definitely felt it on the selling side, going, how on earth why is this horse worth? How do I price this horse? And you don't want to, I think it's important for the industry that we all kind of shoot for the stars. No one wants to feel like they left lots on the table that they could have had. I think you want that reassurance that, okay, I want a fair price for my horse. Like, I'm quite happy as someone who doesn't want to just sell one horse. Like, you will sell multiple horses, so you got to leave room, and you want people to be happy and kind of satisfied with what they're buying. But I think it's important for the industry that there aren't too many, that we don't think about, well, I'll sell it for as much as I can get. If that starts crossing into a boundary where that becomes embarrassing for someone's like going, oh yeah, I paid $500,000 for this horse or whatever, and then someone is kind of going, well, I mean, talk about EquiRatings, 99th percentile, 98th percentile. I mean, your horse was in the 50th percentile, and horses in that territory normally go for about 80,000, and you paid $500,000, and now it's like going, is that a good is that a kind of a positive thing? So yeah, you want to help people not go too far wrong.
But it's good for a market generally to have information. It helps a market to have information. You often talk about it with cars, you talk about it with houses. How much is it worth? It's very, very difficult in our world. And that's okay, because horses are worth different things at different times. The same horse in the same week can be worth something different. I don't mind that, but in terms of the benchmarking and the understanding and the fairness and the transparency around why it might be worth something different to different people at different times, I think that's a big add that we can help bring.
And I think premium pricing is an interesting thing that you see with a car with twice the spec might be 4 times the price, just because people are happy to pay more for premium. Same with houses and things like that, exclusive stuff. And to be honest, you get in, and we definitely see this when we're working with clients. We have some clients who are quite value driven. Like, that's why they've come to us. They've said, look, we want to find the right product, but we're trying to get the best. We believe that we could spend 100,000 on a horse, but we would do it with you guys because we feel like we could get so much more value than just throwing a couple of darts out there into the market, and kind of relying on chance. So they're more value driven. You have others that are much more going, we want to make sure that we have explored the 1,000 active 7-year-olds right now, because we really want the best. Okay, and we're not going to go necessarily into crazy territory on price, but we're very happy to pay premium and above average market prices.
But they're performance driven rather than value driven.
Yeah, but those are the two bits of, like, when we literally, in eventing in particular, because it's multi-phase and there's multi-metrics, and we talked about dressage, reliability, there's the show jumping, so you're always looking at this array of metrics and you're building up this profile of a horse. What we had to do is we had to create indexes, suitability indexes, to actually put all that number, weight all those, and that was useful because it's depending on what you're trying to win the Olympics, you're trying to win badminton, you're trying to win a junior Europeans, so how you weight those numbers. But actually the benefit of having one number is you can then chart it against price. So then you end up with this kind of line going, okay, how much performance am I paying for how much price? And like that's what you're trying to guide people on. And then of course you're going to interpret, okay, well this horse is much more suited to my style of riding, or there's kind of things within that. But again, like the learning and the journey, it's incredible to listen to highly successful athletes who are using this system, who I've looked up to all through their career, and like way more successful than I've been, and they're saying, their approach is, I will adapt my riding to suit the horse. So if you can show me horses that have the metrics to go on and be very, show me the highest potential horses. That's what I want to see.
With evidence.
With evidence, and I'll adapt my riding to suit them. That's their attitude. That, I did not expect that. That was one of the most enjoyable moments for me, going through this process, and actually educational moments, because I'm actually a real, I breed horses and I love the cross country phase, and I'm still the rider that's going around with horses with very strong cross country metrics, very badminton Burley type horses, but weaker in the other two phases, which, to be honest, to win at many levels in this sport, you should have better dressage. And actually, if I had adopted that attitude, I'd have been more successful.
There's still time. I want to go back a little bit to the process. We touched on the step one. Identify what success looks like. Help me find the group of horses in the world, or help me identify the attributes, let's say, that I'm looking for my particular goal. What happens next? Let's say I'm working with you. I say, okay, I've identified the goal with you, or I've told you what I want to do. You've told me a little bit about the sport, how it's working, what the trends look like. What happens at step two? We have those numeric attributes, I suppose, in terms of what success looks like for this person. What happens?
So we talk about the top 1% of the top 1% is what people are going to end up buying in the end.
Looking at.
Well, no, they look at your first thing is to go, okay, so what do you mean? What's the first 1%? So the first 1% is, in terms of active horses in this sport, you're looking around 7,500 that could fit, that could potentially solve this problem. And I say potentially loosely, because obviously some are going to be way older than people are looking for, if they're looking for a horse for LA.
Can I give you, just so that I'm clear on this, can I give you the exact requirements?
Yes.
I want a horse that's going to do well at badminton over the next 3 years. I'm not too worried about this year.
Okay. So then you're looking for a high I mean, and if you're saying badminton next year, I mean, they are going to have to be quite well, it's not going to be 7-year-olds, it's going to be older, into 8 and 9-year-olds.
Okay, 3 years time, 4 years time. Give me the. I want to get a bit of value. A bit of value, but I also want to know that I'm still in the 5-star thinking, rather than in the championship thinking for now.
The first thing I'd say to you, by the way, and this is one of the opportunities that exists in the sport, is there's actually quite a lot of value in looking at next year's badminton horse, because I think there's such a rapid shift in terms of phase influence, what it takes to win at those 2 5-stars. Because the amount of the market's becoming quite, the normal horse is now the championship horse, that kind of London 52 type mold, that asset portfolio. Sub 25 or sub 26 dressage test. Exactly.
Good jumper.
More likely to start well, and then might add time penalties and things like that. So what I mean though is that there's value when you look at the horses who do, particularly if you're saying do well at badminton rather than winning badminton. The top 5 average finishing score now at Burley is a sub 40. So at the moment, if you finish below 40, you should be in the top 5 at Burley. I mean, we were never talking about sub 40s, 5 or 6 years ago. So that's come out. So you can find value there. That's kind of an aside. For your spec, for your younger horse that's going to go on, so we're looking within an age range, we're going to be looking for, say, 6 to 9-year-olds, because you want to have a long enough shelf life. So already you're filtering down. We're going to rule out, horse, if you've mentioned badminton, so you're going to want to see a certain amount of reliability. So we will put in some cross-country metrics there, some parameters. Same with show jumping to a degree, you're going to take out extreme parameters, and same again with dressage. But you can be more lenient. If you'd come to us looking for a championship horse, we're going to have to set tighter parameters on dressage. That's going to leave you quite a good pool, and you're always going to be looking for the most suitable. So some people as well have gender preferences, mares versus geldings, that kind of stuff as well. So you're putting all that in, and you're going to start with the most suitable. And we take the 1% the most suitable 1% on our index, to then go and examine. Like that basically becomes your draft. And what we say about that first 1% is these are the 1% of horses active in the sport right now that are most suitable to what you want to achieve.
We don't know if they're for sale.
Exactly. So the part two is we then have a full-time sales team who will go and inquire about those horses. So they'll go and see, okay, who in this draft is for sale, prices. That can be a negotiation in itself. A lot of the time people are saying, oh, I hadn't really thought about selling. I'm not actively trying to sell. I'm not saying never. I'm not saying there's no price, but I haven't really thought about it. So, it takes a bit of time. Like there's a negotiation, and that's the practical element to it. But what we say is within that draft, there'll be several horses for sale. And then it's about, okay, well, which of those do I like the most, which suit? We know on metrics they're high potential horses. And then it will be about, do I like them as an athlete? Does everything else fit? When I sit in the saddle, is it where I want it to be? But there's going to be one horse on that draft, at least, that you're going to want to pull the trigger on. So that's your top 1% of your top 1%.
You've talked about the top 1%. Of the top 1%, you're looking at 3 horses, 4 horses on your list. You've gotten a price. What do you feel now at this point as an analyst, as someone who's looked at this for 10 years, in terms of are you brave enough to make the jump on a fully numbers-based decision? How confident are you now in the message? You say like, oh, it took us longer to get here because we waited for that confidence. It's such a big decision for so many people. What's your message at that last point? We've gotten prices, we've gotten you 3 or 4 horses, we've gotten, like, we're ready to go. What are you saying?
I can see why people pick holes in every potential prospect. That's kind of how we tend to look at things with a critical mind. I'll be honest, did I think London 52 would win badminton, or that Fisher Chipmunk would win a 5-star? I've definitely had doubts about those. Even doubts about Lordship's Graffalo, and these are horses that are in those sort of top percentiles of potential horses. I mean, Fisher Akana is second on the all-time list, so we're talking out of nearly 10,000 horses. This is like so high, like not just top 1%, like top 99.9%. And I didn't think she'd go on to be as successful as she did. This sport is as simple as score low.
Moneyball.
It's like score low. If it's a good horse and it's a good performer, it should be performing well. If the horse is going to score low, it should be scoring low. And we complicate it. We look for the romantic side of things. We look for the horses that exude qualities that have star qualities. But actually, at the end of the day, if they've got to produce the output, because that's what wins. It's performance output that wins and is successful in this sport. So you kind of have to trust the numbers.
How do we start? How do we get in touch?
Yeah, get in touch with sales@EquiRatings.com. 2 ways. I have a very clear single purchase that I want. I have this is the type of horse I'm looking for. I'm only interested in you guys helping me find this one horse. Absolutely, we're here and ready for you. A lot of people have ended up, they even said at the outset, I'd like to be on this all year round. And a couple of people who came looking for one horse have then said, actually, do you know, I want to stay because I want to, be there when you find the next one. So you can be on our platform all year round and with our team all year round.
I nearly forgot to ask you, how much does it cost?
So the big change, I would say, is not just in the service that you get, in that you're getting a full team of, you've got the data analysis side, you've got access to all of that information, that historical analysis that we're using to predict performance, and then obviously who are the current top 1%, of horses that we're looking for. So you're purchasing information, and then you're purchasing that service. So we have a sales agent who is communicating with vendors and doing all of that normal standard agency work. So how that might have looked and can look is that you'll be charged a percentage. So I would say current industry prices would be around 10%. And when you're getting up, which we are doing with a lot of our high potential and high performance horses, you're getting up into hundreds of thousands and sometimes several hundreds of thousands. That can be very expensive very quickly. That 10% can add up to a lot. So we wanted to obviously provide this superior service at a fair cost. We do charge up front because that's where so much of our value is, but we charge a flat fee because it's the same work really for us to go and investigate that draft of horses, whether they're the top 1% in the world, or they're in amongst the high potential horses at a lower age group, or they're in amongst the top junior horses in the sport. It's the same work for us really, whether someone's going to spend $1 million or they're going to spend 100,000. So our flat fee, and we want to undercut that 10% value as well of those 6-figure prices. So 10,000 euros is our flat fee, and that's what we charge. And that's to get you through that entire process, bring you through to that purchase. And then those clients who want to stay on for a longer period of time as well, those are kind of bespoke depending on how many horses you want to be buying from drafts, how many horses you're buying per year. But that upfront flat fee is something we stick to and has worked well and people have been happy with.